When the 4-year-old tells his teacher his father's secret, she promptly phones her supervisor to ask for a leave of absence. The father of this youngster had no idea his son would be so open with his elementary school teacher, who did not often hear many personal information about the lives of her pupils' parents. Startled by what she heard, she phoned the father right away to find out whether what she had heard was accurate. Nancy Bluer is this person. Her pupils address her as Miss Nancy. She works as a preschool teacher in Mason City at Charlie Brown Preschool and Childcare. It's possible that some individuals believe teaching is an easy profession, but this couldn't be further from the reality. Every day, Nancy has to look after dozens of kids. That occasionally entails listening intently to every element of their life. Camden is this person. He is 4 years old. How sweet a grin is. But that smile vanished in class one day. Nancy saw right away that something was off with Camden. He wasn't acting like his normal, upbeat self. Although it's common for kids to have terrible days occasionally, Nancy realized she wanted to find out what was wrong with Camden when his attitude didn't get better after a few days. Following many days of Camden's negative attitude, Nancy approached him aside and inquired about the situation. It was frightening what Camden had to say. He mentioned to Nancy how much pleasure he used to have going on trips with his father. They went out to eat together, spent weekends at theme parks, and spent their evenings watching movies, such as Moana and Frozen, together after school. But the little child pointed out that that would all have to cease very soon. Why? Nancy didn't believe it to be true. Camden went on to discuss how he would soon be spending no more time with his father and how concerned he was about what would happen to him. What may have been happening at home for Camden's father to decide to leave the family. Though Nancy might have let it go, she chose not to. She made the decision to speak with Daryl Peterson, Camden's father, in order to resolve the matter. When Nancy phoned Daryl to ask about his kid, she never realized that what she would learn from him would encourage her to take a longer leave of absence from her work, in addition to helping her to fully comprehend what Camden was trying to tell her. Daryl disclosed to Nancy that he was ill, and not simply with a cold or the flu. Daryl was diagnosed with IgA nephropathy, commonly referred to as Buerger's disease, a potentially fatal condition. Immunoglobulin A, IgA, accumulates in the kidneys and causes inflammation, which can damage tissue and even result in death. Nancy was so offended by this that she phoned her supervisor right away. 2011 saw Daryl's diagnosis. Things have gotten serious by 2017. After checking up with his doctor after his ER visit, he discovered something that would prompt Nancy to ask for time off as soon as she learned about it. Daryl had a low hemoglobin level. After his physician ordered a biopsy, it was discovered that his kidney function was just 20%. He could require a transplant to preserve his life because of how severe his failure was. And Nancy simply steps in at that point. Daryl had to start dialysis right away after being admitted to the hospital for a week. He was receiving 4 hours a day, 3 days a week of therapy. What could his teacher do about his father's potentially fatal illness after Camden told her what was going on following his angry outbursts at school? Daryl would require a kidney exchange. Friends attempted to assist, but it was unsuccessful. I received offers from friends and family to donate, but for various reasons, medical or otherwise, these didn't work out, he added. Peterson was put on the transplant waiting list. He was informed that finding a donor may take several months or possibly years. Nancy only thought, no wonder little Camden was so worried after hearing Daryl's account. However, what she did next was just amazing. Bluer wished to save her father's life by giving him her kidney. She asked for time off from her employer right away so she could see if she was a good fit. "I would like to donate," she said. "What am I supposed to do?" inquired Daryl. Though Nancy could understand it, he was taken aback. She responded, "I had a coworker who had given a kidney to someone in her church years ago." Following that experience, Nancy decided to make kidney donation a top priority. "I found inspiration in that significant aspect of her life's journey," Nancy went on. Upon learning about Daryl and Camden's predicament, acting seemed like the appropriate course of action. It was a really kind offer. Peterson was going to react in what way? Daryl was hesitant to take it at first, but eventually gave in when Nancy persisted. But she was only getting started on her trip. There were still a lot of processes she needed to complete before the contribution could be made. Physicians needed to determine whether Nancy and Daryl were a good match first. Fortunately, blood tests confirmed that she was. "I was quite thrilled about it," Nancy remarked. "I was overjoyed." Nancy realized that this was actually happening when it came time to schedule the operation. Still, being a match is insufficient. Nancy then had tests and therapy for several months. Given the severe nature of transplant operations, her physical and emotional readiness to donate needed to be confirmed by the experts. Bluer broke the news to Peterson that everything was set to go after months of testing and preparation. "At first he appeared stunned," Nancy remarked. "It took a minute for it to sink in, but when he hugged me I realized he understood." The day he learned, Daryl tried his best to express his gratitude to Nancy. "We're on," I said. "It's approved," Nancy remarked. Then he approached me, gave me a hug, and said, "Oh my gosh." He even got her some flowers. Obviously it was very nice, but I'm crying over here with Daryl and his son and a dozen giant roses, the woman stated. On June 1st, 2018, the two had their operations. Hospitals and clinics of the University of Iowa hosted the procedures. It was made possible by a group of gifted physicians, nurses, and surgeons. The two were allowed to return home after a week. Peterson expresses his sincere gratitude to the personnel who enabled these operations. "I have nothing but praise for the surgeons, nurses, and entire staff," Daryl remarked. "It's such a happy, encouraging atmosphere. It was evident that everyone wished to support you." Daryl is most appreciative to the lady who made it all possible, though. He still finds it difficult to articulate. "Have you ever expressed gratitude to someone for saving your life?" he posed. "People wait daily for kidneys, or any organ for that matter. I wish more people were like her." Daryl remarked, "She's giving me a second chance at life." Camden is also aware of the significance of this gesture. "You're going to make my dad better and live a long time," he stated, to which Nancy remarked, "That just melts your heart." Camden's teacher has allowed him to attend school without having to worry about his father's health. Daryl and Camden will cherish Nancy's present for a long time. She remarked, "That was a really cool response, and it's good to know that I'll be able to talk about this and think, well, that was crazy, at Camden's high school graduation one day." Nancy has bestowed upon father and son something very valuable. Through telling his tale, Peterson aims to increase public awareness of organ donation. There are 93,000 patients on the waiting list for kidney transplants right now. Some will have to wait more than 10 years.